On this episode of Shannon Ayers Speaks,
we want to welcome the legendary Howard Hewett to Hello Beautiful.
Battery has a negative and a positive pole. That's what makes that battery charge up and work, and run. It won't run with a negative and a negative pole or positive and positive pole. It has to be the complete opposites that respect each other and respect the components of each other that makes that battery run. So I want to thank you, God, for giving me one more chance to raise my voice and to sing your praise. Because I always say, I say, man, this ain't my career. This is God's career. This is the Lord's career, and without him, there would be no career. So one of the most important parts of that saying, and that's being in the right place at the right time and being prepared, So if you can be in the right place at the right time all day long, but if you're not prepared, that opportunity can just pass you by.
Our theme for this year, which is defining self-love. Tell us what that means to you, defining self-love. Welcome, sir, and thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you. I'm honored. I'm honored to be here. Honored to spend this time with you and stuff. So that's a great name, Hello Beautiful. You know what I'm saying? So so you must have made that name up. Yeah.
Honestly, I've always had the vision of Hello Beautiful, but I didn't know what I wanted to call it up until just 2 years ago. And it was always about encouraging women and girls to understand their beauty by design and know their worth. So I've been encouraging women and youth in general, but more specifically girls, for a very long time. And so I decided to create a platform to do that.
That's a good thing. I have 3 girls and 1 son. So and it was for a long time. It was just myself and my 2 older daughters. I was like a single dad for a while, for a few years before. So I can appreciate this type of platform. It's very important.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I have 3 girls and 1 son as well. Now, where does your son?
My son is next to the youngest. I have 2 older daughters, and then my son, and then my younger daughter.
And that's exactly how my order is.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Mine are older than yours, I bet.
How much older? Probably not that much.
My oldest daughter is 40.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, just a little bit.
Yeah, it's 40, 39. My son is 31, and my youngest daughter is 25. She just turned 25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, and even with the age differentiation, it's still kind of close because my oldest is 20. Oh, Lord. How old is my oldest child? She will be 21 this year. And so my oldest is 20. My second daughter just turned 19. My son just turned 16 just a couple of days ago. And then my baby girl, she's 13, so she'll be 14 this year. So
you're in the teenage. See, the jury's still out for me as to whether I like teenagers or not. So I still have to figure that one out. Fortunately, all my kids came out of it alive, so I'll take that as maybe I figured it out so far. So
But I think that's awesome. Since you brought up your daughters, how was it for you as a single dad, but being Howard Hewett? How was that?
Wow, because it was really crazy because, you would go out, I would go out and do shows and in front of thousands of people, then come back home. And it's, because when my 2 daughters came to live with me full time, they were 7 and 5 years old. So, I would go out and do all these shows and stuff with all these thousands of women screaming and yelling and stuff, and then come back home and your dad, it's like, okay, that's it. So
right.
I believe that was really, it was, I thank God for that because it was really instrumental, excuse me, in keeping me grounded as far as certain things are concerned, so that was very cool.
That is awesome. No, and I think it's great. One of the things that I think we don't do enough is give our dads credit,
Yeah.
being dads. And then being
Mm-hmm.
a man of color on top of that, it's like
Yeah.
you automatically get a bad rep, but
Mm-hmm.
I am a huge proponent, which is why this season I wanted to start having men on the show,
Mm-hmm.
because
That's good.
I figured, first of all, y'all need to know why we're beautiful too.
I know. And we have to acknowledge your beauty, because I always say, women are so amazing because, as guys, we're thinking from the left side of our brain all the time. We have to condition ourselves to think from this side of our brains. And most women, you guys are thinking from both sides of your brain at the same time. So that's an amazing thing that you come to realize. Definitely.
See, that sounds like some of my husband logic right there. I think that's how he got me to marry him, right? To let me know how much smarter I was than he was. Right?
Yeah. That's funny. Yep. That's the game plan.
No, but I think it's great. Every opportunity I have, like I said, I have a dad, I have a husband, I have brothers, and they're all exceptional fathers.
Mm-hmm.
And any opportunity I get to lift up our brothers,
Mm-hmm.
especially, and you sound like a proud dad, like a dope.
I'm very proud.
Like, oh Lord, I got this baggage.
Yep.
I got kids,
Very, very proud. I mean, you raise them to make the right decisions, to look at things, different, and that's like good for them and stuff. I mean, I don't agree with every single decision my kids have made for themselves through the years, but you have to let them go and make those decisions and stuff. And my thing had always been, I am the type of dad, I guess, that will, if you come to me, I'm going to give you my opinion and my advice as far as that's concerned. Now, if you decide to go another way, then my next question to you is, okay, how can I help you accomplish what you need to accomplish in the direction that you're going now? Because I mean, I'm not dealing with that. It's their life. They're my children, but they have their own lives that they have to deal with and stuff. And so, my thing is to see them win as much as possible in this life. And they're going to have to run into brick walls. But like I used to always tell them, I used to say, you don't have to run into every single brick wall you come in contact with. You don't have a dad who's got his head stuck in the sand on whatever. I kind of been around the block a little bit. So, and especially my girls, I would tell them all the time, I say, you want to know about a guy? I said, you want to know about a guy? Why are you going to your mom to find out what a man is thinking? Come to me. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, their mom and I, and when we were together, we were going through that old age, pull, give and take, pull and push situation that men and women go through anyway. Like we'll go through that, I guess, forever. We're just different. Men and women are just different. We're like, I always equate it to a battery. The battery has a negative and a positive pole. That's what makes that battery charge up and work, and run. It won't run with a negative and a negative pole or a positive and positive pole. It has to be the complete opposites that respect each other and respect the components of each other that makes that battery run. So in other words, my woman, there's some things that I will never, ever see the way that she sees it. Why does she see it this way? But what I had to realize in the early age was that didn't mean that she was wrong. That just meant that she saw it in a different way. So, if I'm a spiritual person, then I know, like in the book of Proverbs, it's supposed to be the book of wisdom. Whenever it talks about wisdom, if you read it, whenever it talks about wisdom, it talks about wisdom, she, or wisdom, her arms are open, which it refers to wisdom in a feminine sense. So that, that tells me as a man, I got to jump off of that whole macho thing sometime and like ask my woman, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that?
Right here. Let me get a little comfortable. Keep going. This is
No, but it's serious. It's like, because so many times that's when we as guys, that's when we run into problems when a woman, your woman might not see something the way that you see it. And, the first thing that you say is, oh, she's wrong. She's wrong. No, she's not wrong. She just sees it in a different way. And quiet as kept, it might behoove you to sit and look at it in the way that she's looking at it, because, when you talk about, like I said, Solomon wrote the book of Proverbs, and Proverbs is the book of wisdom. And so that's telling me that if I have a woman, a spiritual woman, then like she has an innate type of wisdom that I don't even have. So, we need to look at that sometimes.
No, I mean, but I and I've never quite heard it put that way, even as many times as I've read Proverbs and thought, and of course we know what tense that, talking about it, but even, which is again, I think it was great to have men on Hello Beautiful as well, to get that perspective. I just like you, even though my girls are a little bit younger, it's the same thing. My husband and I, we met when we were 17 years old. So we just celebrated 21 years of marriage and been knowing each other for over 30. And so, we've been through it all.
You've been through it.
We've been through it. I've loved him. I've hated him. Here, go away, been through it all. And exactly like how you share with your kids, it's like, listen, and I agree with you. My girls thankfully have a great relationship with their dad. There are just some things that I tell them that I cannot give them. And so I applaud you for being that male figure and that representation to your daughters, whether they ask you or not. Because what I'm starting to realize in my own kids at the ages that they are now is sometimes we think they're not listening, and they're listening. They're listening. They're listening. That's even with, like you said, bumping into those walls they don't have to bump into. So,
exactly.
As a dad, I just that warms my heart, and it makes me respect you all the more. I mean, you already Howard Hewett.
Thank you.
Far done, but you just stepped your game up to another level. Right?
is amazing. I mean, it's like you said, you got the relationship, and they do come to me. I mean, they come to me and they talk sometimes a little bit more than what I want to know, but it's like, but I can't react sometimes in certain ways as you talk about, because I want them to feel like they can always come to me, and no matter what. And that was one of the things that I instilled in all of my kids as they were growing up, was that we can talk about anything. You can come to me, you can talk about anything, as long as we're talking respectful. You know what I mean? As long as you keep it respectful. If it's disrespectful, then that gets cut off and I go straight into the dad mode. And it's like, no, you're doing it because I said you're going to do whatever, But as long as we stay respectful and keep that communication and the transference of ideas and ideals and all that, we're good,
But looking at the Howard Hewett of today and looking at your kids, tell us about the young Howard and where he was compared to where you are today, looking the lens of your kids.
Yeah, I mean, that's Shannon, that's crazy, because somebody asked me in an interview just a few days ago. They said, what would Howard Hewett now tell the 20? What advice would you give the 20-year-old Howard Hewett? And like, before I could even stop myself, I said, not to spend so much time chasing women. And if I had you know, and that's hard to do. That's hard to say. I know, and because I've been dealing with this music thing, I mean, professionally, on a professional level, since I was 10, 11 years old. When they say, you know, okay, professional is when you make your first dollar. Well, I made my first dollar when I was 10, 11 years old. I had a gospel group, the Hewett Singers, and we used to go out on the road on the Chitlin Circuit, the gospel Chitlin Circuit, when we would go into summer vacation and stuff. I didn't spend my summer vacation, you know, playing baseball, whatever. I spent it basically on the road, you know, with my sisters. We had a gospel group called the Hewett Singers. So, you know, I've been dealing with that whole groupie thing even before I knew that I was dealing with the groupie thing. And, you know, and then of course went into about 14 or so, I went into the R&B situation. And I mean, it was real heavy there. So, you know, and then it went on. But one of the things that I found was that, you know, as far as the groupie thing I think it was the first couple years of Shalamar, was that, you know, that's not what's happening. You know, they don't like you because of you. They like you because of what they think you are, the whole thing. And the same women that are going to be yelling and scream for me are going to be yelling and screaming for Bobby Brown when he comes into town, or New Adele, or whoever, you know. So I had to kind of back off of that. But if I had all the time, Shannon, that I spent, you know, chasing women, I think that would be a big chunk of my time right now. And you know, now you look at time at this age, you look at time a little differently than you looked at it back then.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean,
yeah.
And you mentioned, you know, your gospel group with your sisters. How was that transition? Because, you know, when you're looking at a lot of the unsung, and you're looking at a lot of these things where they're showing you, you know, how a lot of the groups and the singers, you know, started out and where they are now. And there are so many that had a gospel background, had a church background, and some of them have kind of come full circle back to it. So how was that transition for you? Even though you were very young at that time, going, you know, with your teens, from gospel to R&B, how was that transition? Like, how did you reconcile that with your faith?
Well, I think what was really important, because what was important to me back then, when I was very young, all the way up to even now, is like what I do and how what I do reflects on my family is very important. You know, family being my kids, my sisters, you know, whoever, thank God everybody's still alive. I have one brother and 4 sisters. My mom and dad have passed away. My mom passed in 92. My dad passed all the way back in 81, you know. But, you know, it's like, you know, I remember, because the Hewett Singers, the gospel group was called the Hewett Singers. I was the lead singer. My sisters backed me up, and we had a bass player, guitar player, drummer, B3 organ player. We were hot. We used to kill. You know, we had a good time. And but like we, you know, doing that whole situation, when I went from the Hewett Singers into, you know, the R&B field, I mean, the Hewett Singers were very, very popular around the Ohio area, up and down, you know, Midwest and stuff, but really in Akron, Ohio, because my mom was a major gospel promoter in the Akron, Cleveland, Canton area. So of course, once the Hewett Singers were able to perform, nepotism was alive and well in my family. So, you know, whenever my mom would bring shows in, we would open up the shows for her. So we opened up shows with like James Cleveland, you know, Albertina Walker and the Caravans, when Shirley Caesar was with him back then, all the way back there. Yeah, Volunteers, Pilgrim Jubilees, Soul Stirrers, Five Blind Boys of Alabama, Swan. So we opened up shows for all those people, you know. And so So when I went from, because my sisters started getting married, all my sisters are older than me, started getting married. They started, having babies. I said, you guys aren't serious about this. So I said, I'm going into, I was always having some offers to join a group or join a band. So finally, I went into from the R&B, from the gospel thing into the R&B thing. And I mean, Shannon, the chatter that was going on, like with the church folks, church people can be cold-blooded, boy.
No, I know. I was raised in the church, and my husband's a pastor too. So I know.
Oh, seriously, because church folks, boy, can be, they hurt you bad, And my mom also had a gospel, 1 hour gospel radio show that came on every Sunday. She had that for about 30, 40 years. She was eventually inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame in Ohio, right? So like they used to call her the lady with the golden voice, because she could talk. She had that silky talking voice, couldn't sing a note, couldn't hold a note in a bucket as far as singing, but she could talk, So I remember by the time it was about 3 or 4 weeks after I had decided I was going into the R&B thing. And like by that time it was a chatter going on from the churches and stuff. And I remember one
devil music.
Yeah, exactly. They said, I can't believe Charlena let her son go sing that devil's music and all that kind of stuff, right? And so I remember, like I said, my mom's program would come on like 7:30 or something like that every Sunday morning. And so I was laying in the bed one Sunday after, the fervor was like crazy. And I turned on my mom's program. And she did a regular introduction, a regular announcements and stuff. And then she said, right now, I want to talk about something that's on my heart, And she went into the whole thing about, I know that you guys are out there talking about my son, Howard, and him going into the R&B field. She said, but I want to tell you, she says, I know what his dad and I instilled in him. I'm kind of paraphrasing now because it's a long time ago, but she said, I know what his dad and I instilled in him. And I know that the biggest sin that my son could make would be not to use the gift that God has given him. And I know from the foundation, she said, she knew from the foundation that she and my dad instilled, that I would take that. I would never take that and just do some crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so that was kind of like my green light, and my rite of passage, so to speak, that I got from my mom and my dad too. And so that's what allowed me, because I did know that I'm not going to go out there talking about, booty call this or booty call that or whatever. I'm going to be respectful, because I'm going to think, I want to look at and think about, whatever I do, I want my mom and my sisters, to be able to be proud of that, So that's when, I came up, thank God, I came up with songs like I'm For Real and Show Me and For the Loving You and all that kind of stuff, So, and especially the Shalamar stuff, because the Shalamar stuff is like real feel good music, which is like, more of what we actually need today. But, so, but, but that allowed me to take each thing as far as the whole thing is concerned and understand that, take it and understand the spirituality, the spirituality comes in many different ways. Spirituality, your relationship between yourself and God, your relationship between yourself and your woman, between husband and wife, is all under that spiritual banner. And to me, so once I connected that, then I was good. I mean, not saying that I was perfect. I'm nowhere near perfect. You know, now, even today, I'm still a work in progress, as they say, you know. Yeah. So, but, you know, but I was able to take that situation from as far as my mom was concerned, you know, and that was my rite to passage.
Yeah. Your mom sounds like my kind of girl.
Yeah.
That would be all day. It's very unfortunate, like I say, having grown up in the church and even with doing Hello Beautiful and with the guests that I invite, you know, just like you, I have to be mindful, you know, of the conversations that I have, of what I put out, because it not only reflects on me. Like I said, my husband is a pastor. So I get it, because I've been born and raised in the church. I've been talked about by church folk and probably still being talked about by church folk, you know, but not all church folk, because the church is not bad, you know, it's just unfortunate. Those of us that grew up in church, you know, it's almost like that, you know, I can talk about my family, but you can't, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
that's the way I look at it.
And that's the way that a lot of church people, you know, believe and feel. You know, they feel that, you know, it's like, you know, I was family. You know, I was family. They had, you know, opened up their arms to me and my sisters, you know, and they felt, you know, a kind of a slighting, I guess. I think maybe I'm trying to psychoanalyze it now, what, 30, 40, 50 years later. So, you know, but like, you know, it was kind of endearing in a way, but, you know, I'm glad that she, you know, let everybody know where she stood and where my dad stood. And that was more important to me than where anybody else stood.
And I think that's awesome. And it makes me think, like my husband, he lost both of his parents. So, and from the sounds of it, and even when I read, it sounds like you all were pretty close knit family. You lose your dad first, and it's from the sounds of it, even from what you shared, that your mom made sure she let everybody know, you know, how they both raised their kids. What was it like for you? I would imagine in somewhat maybe like your 20s, was it, when you lost your dad?
I was 26.
Yeah. So, and that's around that age where you're just coming into life. So as a young man, having been in the industry by that time for years, what was that experience like for you, being in the world now with the absence of your father, but not the absence of his presence, if that makes sense?
Yeah, exactly. It makes plenty sense, total sense. You know, and one of the things that was really that I praise God for, and I thank God for so much, that is that my dad saw the end of my madness, you know, the result of my madness. And when I say my madness, when I touched down, I was like 20 years old when I touched down at LAX in, I forget, 1976 or so, early spring. You know, I touched down at LAX. I had, after I paid for my one-way ticket, you know, I had $34 left in my pocket. That's it. You know, my cousin picked me up. It was me and him, and I had a ball. I had so much fun. I was like, you know, and, you know, just broke, you know, but sometimes it would be, you know, I called my dad, and my dad would send me some money, $100, $200, whatever. And, but he was always telling me, he said, son, you know, you can come back here. I'll get you on at the post office. You know, I can get you, you know, lifetime medical benefits, all that, you know, everything will be taken care of. You can come back. It'd be no problem. I can get you on at the post office. And I tell him, I said, Dad, you know, Bob, you know, I'm doing something. It might not look like it, but I'm doing something. So it was beautiful when in 1980, I think 79, when second time around, put it out there, then it started screaming up the charts, you know, and then in 1980, it was like a huge hit. And
It's still a hit in my book.
Huh?
I say it's still a hit in my book.
Yeah. Thank you. And so it was a huge hit. And then the company the agent we were with, they booked the EJ Performing Arts Center in Akron. I was part of Akron University, but it was the biggest venue in Akron, you know. So they booked that. They booked a show there. The show sold out immediately, right? And then they put another show, second show up. That eventually sold out, you know. And on both of those shows, my dad was sitting right there in the front row, and I could see, you know, the pride and all and everything, and just, you know, it was, that meant so much to me. And then that was in 1980, and then 1981 he passed away, you know. So it was, I always thought about, and I'm doing like crazy interviews now, you know, especially since COVID, you know. And so like, I was doing an interview before, and I thought about the question in my head, you know, what kind of man would I be, you know, if I had my dad for, you know, just a few years longer? Because 26, like you said, you're just coming into your own as a man, and you got your questions about women, your questions about this, your questions. And my dad and I were really, really close. My mom and I were really, really close. And, you know, with moms and stuff, your sisters, sometimes I don't know what it is with women, between women, moms and sisters, you guys got to go through your thing. And I would always look at my sisters like, you know, okay, if you're grown, then why can't you just let some things that she says go in one ear, let it twirl around in there for a minute? If it's not conducive to what you're dealing with, let it go out the other ear. But they couldn't grasp that. But, you know, we were, but my mom and myself, and my mom and my dad, we were really, really close. And I thought about, you know, what kind of man would I be, you know, today if I had my dad with me. But then you think about the whole thing. God does not make mistakes, right? So if God doesn't make mistakes, then that means that my dad gave me everything he was supposed to give me before he left here. And being like my mom used to tell me, she said, boy, you're the king's kid. You're the king's kid. You know, you're a child of God. So I know that if there was any more that my dad was supposed to give me, you know, then he would have given me that. And my dad, he taught me so much even after his passing, you know, and he was teaching me even then, as far as my heart is concerned,
which is that presence that I was talking about. Yeah.
So it's like kind of brings tears in my eyes right now. And that was like 1981, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. But again, this is why I'm doing this, because you have some single women out there. You know, you have some single women that consider themselves to be the mom and the dad. And don't get me wrong, you know, because my mom is a strong woman. I have sisters. I'm the second to the oldest. There's 11 of us. Mm-hmm. So it's a few of us, and it's, you know, 2 girls and 3 boys. So I know some strong women, but what's also important about having you here, of course, like you said, we love your music. You are super talented, and you look like you've hardly aged, you know, which is great.
I tell people you should see it from this side.
Well, you know what? Well, this angle looks pretty good, sir.
Thank you.
But this is why I do this, because you have a lot of women. We need to understand the importance of the presence of a man. And even with the single women that may not necessarily have a companion, but it is important, whether it be a pastor, whether it be Mr. Joe down the street, whether it be a teacher or a coach or something, it's important. And it really, really makes a difference. You know, your dad passed at 6 and still impacted your life even afterwards. because of the role that he played in your life. And I think that it is essential, and I think it's important. You know, when my husband and my son, I'm always stopping them and taking pictures of them, and they get the clowning around and acting silly and making memories and doing things. And I'm just in awe when I look at my husband and my son interact. When I see my son standing, my son looks like the spitting image of my husband when I first met my husband, but he picks on my husband about his losing his hair, and I'm like, okay, right. Right on the head. He always, okay, all right.
I know.
Yeah,
So,
but it's.
I think that's one of God's sense of humors. It's like because all of us were like, we had the big afros back in the day, and then God says, well, let me see how he's going to deal with this. All right, so so it's all good. I remember when we the first couple of weeks of shutdown, when we all shut down, I was in the mirror, with my clippers, my hair growing down over my ears, and I'm cutting because I hated for it to like touch my ears and stuff. And man, I'm looking in the mirror like I said, my barber is shut down now. I don't know when he's gonna open back up. I said, zip. I started zipping there. I just zipped it all off. Like, it's like I realized that I hadn't done that since I was, like 18, 19 years old, so and people say cut it off, and then, so, hey, I say, cool.
And it looks pretty good.
Hey, man. It's like, that's why I was kind of skeptical about cutting off, because I hadn't seen my head in so long. I'm like, what's it going to look like under there? So, but I should have done this a long time ago, actually, because, my hair had been thinning since I was about 30, 28, 29, 30 years old.
So what does that do for you as Howard Hewett, the entertainer, when you talk about self-esteem, when you talk about, being out in the public eye, and if I must say, being a quote unquote sex symbol and having women throw themselves at you and all that other, how was that for you, losing your hair and going through normal life stuff, but in front of the public's eye?
Well, even now, I always wear a hat. My thing is hats, like that back there. I've always dealt with that. I love hats, from even when I had a full head of hair, it was like, it was about hats and stuff. But at first there was an insecurity, that was happening, to be honest, like the vanity of the whole thing, but then you had, that's what you kind of had to get past, the vanity of the whole thing. You had to get past all that, had to get, into, okay, this is just what's happening. This is what life is about. You try and do this, try and do that, but like, hey, it's all in the course of growing older, and growing older, is an inevitable process. It's not something we, like I always tell people about, life. I said, hey, ain't none of us getting out of this thing alive. You know what I mean? So it's like, so it's you grasp your pride, and that's all it is pride and like I said, vanity, and you put that in check, and then you keep on going, just keep on going, and then before you know it, you reached another level of understanding about yourself. Because I hope that I'm always learning something about myself. I'm 65 years old now, and I believe that there's even more for me to learn as far as Howard Hewett is concerned, even at this age.
Wow. And that actually brings another question to mind when we're talking about learning and we're talking about growing and being at the age that you are now. For a lot of the younger generation that are in the music industry now, given what you experienced back then, having started so young all the way up until now, and as you alluded to, and my husband and I, we drive our kids nuts because we always talk about we had the best music, during our time. and what they're singing about. And not all artists, but it's just that kind of general sexual connotation and just that implicit things that are just sexual in nature, and in a lot of instances degrading women. And when you were talking about the music that you all made, like with Shalamar, and even in your solo career, a lot of music during that era was more about love, and it was more about being together, and it was more about that relationship type thing. Is there any advice that you would give some of the younger R&B crooners, or some of the younger ones that have similar talent and are kind of on a similar path? Is there any advice that you would give them with the Howard Hewett that's now having lived through and experienced it all?
I think one thing that I talk about sometimes, you have to be sure about what kind of artist you want to be. This business can it's so you can get caught up in this, get caught up in that. The wind can blow you this way, it can blow you that way. You don't know what type of artist you want to be. One minute you're looking at some hip hop stuff, and the next minute you're looking at some other this and that, whatever. Understand and decide what kind of artist you want to be, because that's start doing, because you can be here and be there and over here, and not only lose your audience, but you can lose yourself also, which is even more devastating. And I don't know, it's advice. There's nothing that, this is a kind of business where I can't take a pen and a piece of paper and say, okay, number one, you do this. Number two, you do that. Number three, you do that and this, blah, 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 and down the line. Because there's different things that happen for different people and different experiences. I think one of the most important things, if you look at that things that are important, is that I asked a bunch of kids one time, I said, what do you think is one of the most important things about, being successful, getting your break? Well, you gotta be in the right place at the right time. And that was the change. Yeah, right place, right time. And I said, that's true. That's very important. Right, being in the right place, right time is important. But there's another part of that saying that people have forgotten about a lot, but it's one of the most important parts of that saying. And that's being in the right place at the right time and being prepared, So if you can be in the right place at the right time all day long, but if you're not prepared, that opportunity can just pass you by. When it comes back, if it comes back, that's a whole nother story. And I always tell the story about myself, because I never want to give anybody any advice that I haven't, had to deal with in my time. And that gives me a little bit more up on the knowledge of what I'm talking about. When I first got I'll do a short version. When I first got the offer to join Shalamar, I got that on a Friday. I went down and talked to. It just so happened that I was in the same building, and in the Motown building, they had the 17th, 16th, and 15th floor of this high-rise office building in Hollywood, and I was in the Motown Motown building on the 15th floor, in a meeting with these guys. And when I got the offer, Jeffrey Daniel found me in that office. I was working with these people at Motown on a project. We hadn't signed contracts or anything yet, so but he found me in that office. Made an offer, to become he made me an offer to be the equal position as lead singer of the group. And he said, you're in the Motown building, right, on the 15th floor. He said, where are you? I said, I'm on the 15th floor. He said, well, Solar, who was their record company, was down. He said, their offices are down on the 9th floor in that same building, right? And he said, we talked to Dick Griffey, who was the owner of Solar Records and stuff. We told him about you. He's waiting for you to get in touch with him. So I get off the phone. I tell these guys what the deal was. They start talking the Motown people, they start talking their stuff. And I listened. I just kind of got quiet and listened. When they got done, I said, well, look, my car is parked on the street. I need to go put some money in the meter, right? And so I went out of that office right down to the 9th floor, got in there, talked to Dick Griffey. I told him I had to give the people upstairs a chance to rectify, because your word is, you find in this business that your word is worth more than anything. And so I said, I'm gonna call them. I'll give them a chance to rectify this thing. I'll call you back in the morning, right? So called everybody. Nobody called me. So Saturday morning, I called Dick Griffey, went over to his house rather, and sat there. I watched a videotape of the Shalamar show. And then when it was done, I'm sitting in this rocking chair, I remember it. Dick Griffey says, well, sing something. Jeffrey and Jody say you're a great singer, sing something. That's my Dick Griffey impression, right? But God rest his soul, he passed a few years ago. But he said, sing something, right? And so I said, sing something, just a cappella, He says, yeah, sing something. So I said to myself, well, Lord, me and you, right? And I broke into Feel the Fire by Peebo Bryson, How
did it go? How did that go?
Get out of here. I ain't auditioning now. So but I got through the first verse and half the hook, and Dick says, okay, I'll be right back. And he goes upstairs, comes back down. He says, he gives me some cash. It was only like about $500, but I wasn't making hardly no money at that time. So $500 was a whole lot of money. So gave me some cash, and then he went in the other pocket and he brought out an airline ticket. And that was back in the day, that was post 9/11. I could ride on your ticket, you could ride on my ticket. It didn't have to have a specific a name or whatever on it like now. So he said, here's the airline ticket. You have to catch the red eye out tonight and meet the group, meet Jeffrey and Jody in New Jersey tomorrow. Rehearse, which was Sunday morning. He said, you got to rehearse the lip sync and the choreography to take that to the bank. He said, because Monday you have a TV show to do. And that's exactly how it went down, Shannon. It was like Friday, I got the offer. Saturday, I did a little lightweight audition. That night, Saturday night, I was on the red eye, met them in New Jersey at the, I forget, in that Robert Treat Hotel or something like that. And we rehearsed all day, and then the next day I was in front of a TV camera, this little small dance show in Paterson, New Jersey. So, being in the right place at the right time and being prepared, that's what the deal is. I mean, if I had gotten that opportunity and then I was like, oh, no, I can't sing, I need a band, or I need, let me warm up or whatever, then that opportunity might have passed me up.
It's so interesting that you mentioned this, because my husband and I, we're just having kind of a heart-to-heart with my son earlier today about that exact thing, about being prepared for life. He's 16 now. And so it's like, okay, you only got a minute before you consider being an adult. And just understanding opportunity, and understanding he's an extremely talented kid, very smart book-wise, very athletic. But even with all of those God-given talents that we have and that we're blessed with, you still got to work at it. And
got to work at it.
Got to hone your craft.
I
think that's excellent, that hopefully some of our younger generations are listening, because sometimes it's not enough to have a pretty face. It's not enough to have talent. It's not enough. You got 10,000 other people with a pretty face, 10,000 other people with talent. What's going to distinguish you from everyone else?
Yeah. I mean, I have to work on it, especially in the beginning. And as I was developing, when I was a kid and developing my vocal style or whatever, but I had to work at it. I had to work, and even now, you have to. I always, I'm so hard on myself because I don't practice as much as I should, but my son, who's an amazing vocalist and musician, when he's out on the road with me, he's always, okay, Pop, I'm getting ready to do is 15 minutes before show. Come on, you got to do some vocal exercise. I say, man, my vocal exercises in my first song is my warm up, and that's old school. You know what I'm saying? That's the old school situation. So you just get out there and you start and you hit it. But it's you have to like instill that type of thing, I think, and especially now because there's so many distractions now. Things that can make our kids believe that they don't need certain things in order to succeed in the things that you want to succeed in. Like I believe that, like there's guys out there to this day right now could sing me under my desk right here. They got, but the hard work that I put into my craft, and what I put into what I'm, as far as the way I presented myself and the way that I've, thank God I've been able to maintain, my career, because I always say, I say, man, this ain't my career. This is God's career. This is the Lord's career, and without him, there would be no career. So, and so it's really, really, really important. It's like I said, especially now for us to instill those type of things in our kids, because there are so many distractions out there.
Isn't that the truth? So you didn't take the bait when I tried to get you to sing. Now, you've got to give us just a little bit of Save Me, just a little bit.
It's time to say goodbye for now. We'll have our second time around. But before we go, there's something I got to say. Everything's not what it seems. There's a stronger force behind the scenes. He's in our lives every day. He's right there when we call. In him is where my strength lies. I lift my eyes beyond the skies. Only he can save our lives. And only he can hear my cry. I want to thank you, God, for giving me one more chance to raise my voice and to sing your praise. I sing it out loud. I sing it all day. This song is my prayer I give to only you. I know it can't compare to the gift from you. He gave us his love. He gave us his son. Everybody say amen.
Oh, yay. Still got it, man. You still got it.
Hey, I had to figure out different ways to get to different different places throughout that whole thing. That's the whole thing about singing too. It's like you gotta you as time goes on, especially when you do songs over and over and over and over and over every night. Like there's so many songs I have to do every night. Second time around, Make That Move, For Loving You, I'm For Real, Show Me, Say Amen, once, twice, three times, all that stuff, so there's so much stuff, that you have to figure out how to keep it interesting for you as an artist, so that's always a good thing. That's cool.
You still got it. You still got it.
Thank you.
And I know that song, I mean, if the church folk back in the day was fussing you out, they had to have seen you come full circle, because that song was, I mean, everybody was singing the song. Everybody.
Unfortunately, though, there were a lot of people, not a whole lot of people, I got to say that, but some people who are like, just I mean, I talked to them and they said, well, I never heard, Say Amen before. And I said, oh, that's terrible. You never heard. Why is that? Because I don't listen to secular music, and it was on a secular album. So, because at the time when I said I was going to do that song, it was, I remember before leaving the group, before leaving Shalamar, a couple of years before, I remember praying. I prayed a prayer. I said, Lord, when I'm by myself, when I am responsible for what I say, not saying that the other two members didn't believe, but when you say something like Say Amen, it's such a personal situation, such a person, and each person, everybody listens to it, I think, takes their own personal situation from it. And so I prayed. I said, Lord, when I'm by myself, when I'm responsible for what I say, I said, I promise I will always honor you on every solo album I do. Every solo album I've ever done has always honored God, Christ, the Holy Spirit. And then I remember finally leaving the group, and I went to have a meeting with the new record company I was with, and even the new management that I had hired, because I wanted to start fresh as far as that whole thing. And so I went in there. I was happy because I was finally doing my solo album. Shook everybody's hands, and I sat down. And I said, well, first of all, before we get started, this is 1985, mind you. Okay, this is 1985. So I said, before we get started, I just want to say that I want to do a song to the Lord on this album. And I'm sitting there rather, and smiling. And then everybody's like, you could hear a pin drop in there, right? And so then this one guy starts talking and says, well, Howard, we want to take your career in the sex symbol direction, and might not be
piece of stuff that's not gonna go over too well.
Yeah, might not be. And like I said, this was in '85. Denise Williams, she would do a gospel album and then come back and do her R&B album. But I was talking about, on the same album. I didn't want to do it separately. I wanted it on the first album, the first solo album. And so, I listened to what they had to say. Again, I got quiet because I guess that's just how I do. I get quiet and I listen to what everybody has to say. And in this case also, definitely, as they were talking, I'm praying, in my head. And I'm like, Lord, because the last thing I want to do is turn these people off to, promoting my first solo album. So, all of us had to work, in conjunction with each other. So I sat there and I listened and I prayed and what my prayer said, Shannon, was like, just be bold for me, and so when they got done, I said, I hear what you're saying and I understand what you're saying. I said, because, I understand it. I said, but maybe I approached this the wrong way, so I said, let me go back and let me say, I'm going to do a song to the Lord on this album, right? Because my promise to him is way more important than the direction that any of us see my career going, because without him, there would be no career. Like I said earlier.
That was a big deal, right? You know, it was a really big deal doing that.
Pardon me?
That was a really big deal of you making that stand.
Making the stand, and also, with Say Amen, there's 10 tunes on the I Commit to Love album, my first solo album. There's 10 tunes on there. It says 11, but one is like a remake of a tune, that the tune Stay that's on there. So there's 10 tunes on that album, and I conscientiously did it like that so that Say Amen would be my tithe of that album. And so, taking that stand, making that stand, be bold for the Lord, because he's not shying away from things as far as I'm concerned. Me, I'm the king. Like my mom used to say, I'm the king's kid. You know what I'm saying? So, And so like, I said, I'm going to do a song to the Lord on this album. So now we can talk about everything else. So just let me deal with everything, now we'll talk. And of course, after Say Amen came out and it did what Say Amen was never a single. It was like an album cut on the I Commit to Love album, but everybody pulled it off of there. People were ending their show. Donnie Simpson, with his show in Chicago, in Maryland rather. He ended his show every day. Every day he ended the show with Say Amen for like 2 or 3 years. And so, and then of course, when all that success came, then all of a sudden it was everybody's idea, oh yeah, we Say Amen. And I would the head of Elektra, the whole time I was there was this cat named Bob Krasnow. And so Bob and I would sit down. We would sit down twice during the course of a project, of an album. First time we would sit down and talk about the direction of the album that we wanted to go. And then the second time we would sit down would be after I finished the album, and then we decide what single we want to come off of there. But every time after the I Commit to Love album came out and Say Amen was such a popular situation, I would sit and I would talk to Bob Krasnow. We talk about the direction of the next project that I'm getting ready to do. And when we get done, he would always say, well, I know you're going to do another one of those God songs, right? So that's good. I say, yeah, Bob, I'm going to do another God song, definitely, so.
For you to take a stand, especially during that time, and in the industry, it was huge. And as you can see, this many years later, the song is still relevant. And the song still resonates and still one of my favorites. Of many favorites, but that song right there really just brings it all home, and really, even from back then, even to now, still brings it full circle.
Yeah, I always called it the ultimate praise song. I want to thank you, God, for giving me one more chance to raise my voice and sing your praise. It was the ultimate praise song, and it's helped me, just like so many people always tell me how it's helped them through this and helped them through that. It's helped me through just as much stuff, man. I would find myself sometimes in a situation or whatever, and I say, yeah, I just want to thank you, God, for giving me one more chance, And it's just, I sometimes I hesitate saying that I even wrote it, because it's such a given to me from a spiritual situation, and I just thank God that He chose me, and my writing partner at the time was this guy named Monty Seward, and that He chose the two of us to be the vehicle, to bring that about.
Well, we're definitely thankful, and that this is actually the perfect time to bring up our theme for this year, which is defining self-love. Tell us what that means to you, defining self-love.
Defining self-love, that's that covers such a broad situation too, because it's like, you can't truly love somebody else until you learn how to love yourself. Some people might get caught up in the whole thing. Well, I don't want to be selfish or conceited or whatever, but it's not. You have to learn as far as like how important it is to learn how and learn the importance of loving yourself, because being able to give that and to truly in a well-rounded situation, give love and give that love to somebody else, you have to know how to give it. Like I said, give it to yourself. So that's one of the main things about growing and maturing spiritually, as well as everything else is concerned, but is to learn, how important that is. I hope I answered the question with my.
No, you absolutely did. No, you absolutely did, because which is why I chose that theme. Year, because it's not an arrogance, it's not conceit, it's learning how to love who God created you to be, because
Right.
of yourself has to be to love him, because
Right.
we're all designed in his image. So no, you gave the perfect answer.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, because it's a good, it's a good question too, because some people, there's so many people out there that, haven't figured out how to love themselves, and some of the most beautiful women I've ever known are some of the most insecure women I've ever known. And a lot of it has to do with choosing the wrong mate, boyfriend or husband, whatever. Sometimes a woman is so beautiful and you guys' spirit is so fragile. You try to be some of the hardest, business women I've ever known have a fragile spirit, and they try to, put this facade on, but inside they're like, they're that woman, and so like, is trying. A lot of times, like I said, some of the most beautiful women are the most insecure, and 9 times out of 10, that insecurity comes from them allowing a guy to come in who is insecure with himself, and she's so beautiful that he's so insecure with the relationship, he feels like he needs to bring her down, cut her down to size, as they say, and like, keep her under his thumb. But, I say this, I mean, because there's a beauty, I don't care what the deal is, women, you guys are so beautiful and so, fragile in certain areas. You don't get me wrong, people are listening, I'm not calling you weak.
No, I understand.
There's not a weakness. It's a fragility that is the way that God made you guys. And as a man, it's up to me to really, with my woman, I want to see her blossom in every way possible, in every area of her, whatever she wants to do. Okay, I'm supporting you. I want to see you blossom, and your when my woman is concerned, her security is very important to me, and I'm the source. And they say that for a man, the most important thing is respect. For a woman, the most important thing is security. And if you can find somebody that gels with you in that way, that's so important.
I'm so glad you touched on that. And which really, really makes me happy that I brought you on to Hello Beautiful. And I know it's gonna make my girls happy, as well. And it actually brought to mind Howard's girls.
Howard's
world, really? Right? So I had to join the group because I had to see what Howard's girls was all about.
So you joined?
Join the group.
That's good. That's good. That's great. That's beautiful.
How does that make you feel? Knowing that all these years and you still your favorite.
Now, first of all, I'm so flattered, very seriously, that they even would think of that, that type of thing. But second of all, it's so important to me that Howard's girls they're creating a place of security for women to go, for ladies to go.
Very mature, very spiritual minded ladies is what I found in that group.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and I commend them for that as often as I can, because somebody say, "Oh, you should join the Howard's girls and be there." No. I don't want. Let you guys go and talk all the stuff I don't want to hear nothing you got to say. But to have for them to create that platform and create it in a way where it allows women to go in there and be themselves and have a support group. I mean, that's one of the things in this whole age of COVID. I believe that we've learned how important that support group is, and that's one of the many blessings that I believe has come out of this thing, that will have come out of this thing. So, I mean, but to have a whole format, a whole situation, like Howard's Girls, I'm like, oh man, that's kind of cool, That's like
especially in this day and age, and then for it to be tastefully done.
Yes.
And again, and I stress and I reiterate, it's a bunch of spiritual. I've looked at a lot of the different quotes that they'll put on there, the different levels of encouragement, and just to think that all of that was, centered around, being your fan.
Yeah.
But still being able to keep it mature and still being able to keep it tasteful and respectful while still admiring you, as a fan, and admiring you for your artistry. I think it's just great.
I think it was cool too. And just shout out to Yamini Nazim and Renee Jemison and all of them, and Debbie Reynolds. You got to say Debbie Reynolds' name the right way. Debbie Reynolds Ula. And Priscilla Watley, of course, and I mean, I can't go through all the names, but Gracie Pantalian, she'd kill me if I didn't mention her. So, but they're all beautiful, mature women that are really dedicated to creating a safe environment and a supportive environment. So that's all good. That's really cool.
I can't wait to report back. I didn't let them know that I was going to be interviewing you.
Okay.
Let them know when this is going to air, and hopefully they'll join in.
Yes.
For this premiere. So now the very last part, I always go into with all of my interviews. But before I do that, your way around the kitchen. I'm a New Orleans girl, right? So when I see Evelyn Champagne King up in the kitchen with some shrimp and some egg noodles.
Yep, right? Egg noodles. Yep, definitely. Well, she was cooking that night. She and Freddie, her husband, came over because they live right around the corner from me. And when I had my last house in Simi Valley, they lived not too far from me there too. And then I moved here. I built this house here and moved here about almost 5 years ago now. And then about a year after I got here, we're here in Santa Clarita. I'm like, y'all stalking me or something? It's crazy. But they came over, because we had been wanting to, do a dinner, type of situation for a long time. But I always say, when people ask me, do I cook? I always tell them I cook well enough not to starve. You know what I'm saying? But there's a couple dishes I like to cook. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna throw that out there now. We have Hello Beautiful Eats, so we might have to throw down in the kitchen once we get past this COVID stuff.
All right.
And see what you're working with.
All right, cool. My ex always kids me because I'm always one to go out and get all the stuff, all the pots and pans, and my ex she is rather like a gourmet cook, so she really throws down. She throws down, and so she'd come here a couple times with my daughter, with our daughter. And she's looking in the kitchen and said, "What do you know about all this stuff? What do you? Well, you don't know how to use all this stuff." I was like, "Hey, but when I want to figure it out, it'll be there. I don't have to go and look for it." So I got cupboards. I got cupboards of pots and pans and all that kind of stuff. So
put that to use. So I'm throwing that out there. So I'll circle back with you. I'm like, Howard, remember we had a date.
Okay.
Throw it out in the kitchen.
Got it.
Good
you
deal?
got it. I'll cook you my famous salmon dish. Actually did a little lightweight, little lightweight rendition of it right before I called you guys, because I was sitting there, I was like, starving. I hadn't eaten anything, and realized all I had all day was a cup of coffee, and so I went down and made a quick, I had some salmon steaks or patties, whatever you want to call it. So, down there in the freezer. So, I know how to throw some stuff together,
Okay. I will hold you to it, sir. Now that will be a treat for my Hello Beautiful audience. So
that'd be great. Yeah.
Yes, so we'll definitely circle back to that one.
Good. I look forward to it. Yeah.
So this is the last part that we always end out our interviews with a word association.
Okay.
It's not bad. I think you'll survive. I promise.
Okay.
Okay. So whenever I say a word, you just tell me what comes to mind.
Okay.
Akron.
Akron. Foundation. I think about foundation. My whole thing is about foundation. No, I don't believe anything can stand without a strong foundation. And Akron provided for me as a kid, growing up in grade school, junior high, high school, and even before, represented a strong foundation for me. Okay. Motown classics, and all time Motown runaround sometimes that they would give us as an artist that was working in that whole situation back in the day, so when I was out hustling, before Shalamar and all that, and I'm hustling between this gig and that gig, background sessions, and I connected with this guy. Like I said, that I was at the Motown building when I got the offer to join Shalamar. So when you say Motown, I think classic.
Yeah. Shalamar.
Again, foundation, and had the beginnings. That Shalamar was the beginning of my recording career. Before that, it had been, top 40 groups and all that kind of stuff. But Shalamar represented the foundation and the beginning of my recording career. So, family, most important thing besides your relationship with God. That's the most important thing that you can have, the most supportive thing, hopefully the most supportive thing that you can have. But family, just like everything else, needs to be nurtured, and you need to take care of it. And with that, before we go to the next word, speaking of family, I want to wish my sister Adele a happy birthday. I love you, and I hope you had an amazing day today.
Happy birthday, Adele.
Adele. Yeah.
Happy birthday, Adele.
Well, it was actually a couple of weeks ago, but I want to say happy birthday.
We hope she had a beautiful birthday, and I'm sure that'll mean a lot to her.
Good.
Shout out. Okay, life.
Most beautiful gift God has given us, life. I mean, it's just like, people in the world kind of mess it up sometimes, but when you really think about it, and when you really, are basically praising God, what I praise God for every day when I wake up and spend my time, in the morning, just me and the Lord, I thank him for this life, this gift of life. And that I ask him, the most important thing that I believe I can ask him for is wisdom, wisdom to, maneuver through this life and be in this world, but not of the world, and all that. And so, but life is one of the most beautiful gifts God has given us. Chance. By chance, I think about chance. When I think about chance, sometimes I think about luck. You know what I mean? And to me, luck lasts as long as you throw 7-Eleven, But blessings and all that, those are gifts from God. So sometimes I look at chance and I Shannon, I say, do I believe in chance, or do I not believe in chance? But I believe everything is, all our steps are ordered, you know what I'm saying? And so that's why chance kind of, takes a smaller role in my life, I believe.
Very good answer. Love.
I'm like the helpless romantic. I'm not with anybody now, but I was engaged for about 6 years, and we just kind of broke it off about a little less than a year ago. But and we're still really good friends, and it's important for me to know and to let her know how much our relationship meant to me, and how the love will always be there, always. I don't care what the deal is, always be there. So love is a very important thing, and it's you can't just throw it around haphazardly, but there's different types of love, as we all know, the agape and all that kind of stuff. But it's a very, very important thing. But when you think about relationships, and where, because everybody says, where does love stand in the importance of relationships? I still believe love is up here now, up here at the top, because you can't. But then they say, oh, but you can't go to the store and buy groceries with love. Yeah, but then if some crazy stuff goes on in your relationship, sometimes the only thing that you have to grasp onto is that love, So as long as you got that love, you have something to grasp onto.
Beautiful. Father.
What is it?
Father.
Father. Wow. Another foundation thing for me, when I think about it. And pride. I'm proud to be a father. I'm proud to be a dad. I can tell my kids all the time, hey, I'm proud to be your dad, and so, I think it's a healthy kind of pride as far as that's concerned, to be a father to one, because you can birth kids, but all day long, but are you a father? Have you taken the time to be a father in their lives? And that's a very important thing to me. So yeah, fatherhood is amazing to me.
Dreams.
I don't dream a lot. I used to say, because people would ask me, what does Howard Hewett dream about? And it's like, I don't dream a whole lot. Every once in a while I'll dream about something. And then if I wake up and I remember it, I have to write it down real quick, because as time, the minutes after waking up, it starts drifting away. But I used to always say that, my life is my dream. I go to sleep to kind of get a break from my dream every once in a while, but.
That's good. Okay. And song.
Song is like life, figuring it out. The way you put together a song, and sometimes it's the way you look at life. A lot of times it's like, how do you fit this piece here, fit that piece there, make that piece rhyme and roll with that piece. And and it's like I always looked at a song also like a beautiful woman. You see a beautiful woman, you go over and you start talking to her. Now, if she's about you know what I'm saying, and doesn't say anything that relates to you, then you put her back in that, wow, visual, beautiful category. And then she's there until another beautiful woman comes into play. But if you go and you start talking to her and she starts talking the right stuff, she's hitting the right chords, she's hitting the right harmonies with your soul, with your spirit. Then
those girls are losing their mind right about now. Just want to throw that out there. Keep going.
So so like when that happens, then that woman, she's there, you try, and then that's the beginnings of trying to make start a relationship, but that's the way a song is. A song, if I'm putting together a song, if you hear a song, the first thing you hear is that melody, the music. That's what draws you to that song. But once you get in there and you get in there and you hear what the song is talking about, if it's not talking about anything that relates to you in your life, then it goes back into, wow, this is a serious groove, great groove. I love it. And then you're loving it. And then all of a sudden, oh, here's another song, and you're loving it. You're loving it. So, that's what a song is life.
Awesome. And the most important one, Howard.
Howard, like I said in the beginning, still a work in progress. I hope I don't come to the end of that work, because then there wouldn't be a whole lot more to stick around here for. You know what I'm saying? And I look for, and I thank God for the opportunities of learning more about Howard, and putting certain things about Howard into perspective. And, I'm great sometimes too great at compartmentalizing, sometimes, but in life, you have to learn how to do that, because I've seen people with the simplest lives try and live it all at one time and not separating this and separating that and putting that in this compartment and dealing with it. And I prayed that Howard has not, become so compartmentalized where, and I think that's the goal that I keep striving for every day, is like not to become so compartmentalized that I miss a lot of life as far as certain things are concerned, and don't give this certain part of my life enough time to live. It's all, and these are great questions, by the way. And I always look at interviews. I want to do interviews that dig deep, you know what I mean? And I'm saying not just the regular bio, interviews and stuff, because to me, at an early time when I first started doing them, they became like almost like cheap therapy, where I had to really think about, what was the questions that were being asked. And that's how I appreciate that.
Thank you. No, I appreciate you allowing us to get to know you a little bit better, not just through your music. I mean, we already know you through your music, but getting to know you, the man. I purposefully designed. I don't want it to be like every other interview. I don't want it to be like anything else's. And it's not to discredit any of those, because everything has its place. But I don't want to be repetitious of what's already out there and what we already know of you. You allowed us to get to know you. Even it was just extremely touching listening to you talk about your father, and getting to know you from that perspective and that side. So, this has been, I mean, to grow up listening to your music and to even see you now still looking young and spry, like you still got a whole lot more left in you.
whole lot more to go. Yeah.
Tell us, how can we find you?
Well, social media, is like everything these days. So, of course, you can go, a lot of my audience is on my Facebook fan page. It's like facebook.com/Howard Hewett, Hewett, not ITT. Make sure, because they've been trying to get me to spell ITT. Yeah, since they've been trying to get me spelled like that since kindergarten, but I'm holding out. So it's facebook.com/Howard Hewett fan page. And then the Twitter account, I made a Twitter account when Twitter first came out. So I didn't put my name on it, but I did. There was a dear friend of mine, George Duke, you know, he passed away a few years or so ago. And George used to always say, Howie, I'm just a keyboard player. I'm just a keyboard player, right? I'm just a piano player, he would say. So like when Twitter came in, I put my name on Twitter is Just a Vocalist, JUSTAVOCALIST, Just a Vocalist. And then Instagram, the Instagram page is Howard_Hewett. And there's a website, you know, Howard Hewett Mute, huh?
And your YouTube, you're on
and YouTube channel. Yeah, finally Howard Hewett YouTube channel. I thought I had a YouTube channel for like a couple of years. I thought I had a YouTube channel, but turned out I didn't have one. So, you know, we launched, my sister and I launched that. It's been about a month. Well, since right before the Christmas video, which you can see on there at any time. Yeah. We launched it with that video because we did that video with just an iPhone 11 Pro, and that was it. The front shots from the front of the whole thing, you know, when I'm sitting at the piano, is done with a 4K camera. But everything else, only those shots were done with that camera. Everything else was with the iPhone 11. And my assistant did a great job in editing everything and all that. I was really proud of her. She did a great job. And let's see, what else?
What was your website? So your website?
Oh, the website is howardhewittmusic.com. And you can get some information on there. A lot of stuff posts from other sites get posted on there. And it's there. I keep it up so that when I get real serious about doing it, it'll be there, you know? So, you know, because I want to do a merchandise page somewhere, either there or some other format, but we'll figure it out, you know.
No, this has just been awesome. You are awesome.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. It's been awesome for me too, Shannon. Really, for real. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Well, I tell you what, I told you we're gonna be cooking.
All right.
A few months from now, we're gonna be cooking.
Let me know.
Let me know. California, or you coming to Georgia? One or the other.
One or the other. Where are you in Georgia?
I am right outside of Atlanta.
Okay. Yeah. It's like it's you know, Georgia. I was because I was doing the whole campaign for the you know, Reverend Warnock and
yes.
and John Ossoff. And I did a bunch of PSAs and stuff for Georgia, and because that was so important. I mean, so important. I mean, with that, I mean, you guys literally leveled the playing field, in the lawmaking of this country and stuff. And you know, because I mean, we've been in a terrible place for the last like 12, 13, 14, 15 years. And now we finally have you can, you know, get a little breath of fresh air and like, you know, figure out some stuff, and they can, you know, Congress can finally start doing something, yes. You know.
Yes, Lord. And thank you for coming to Georgia, and thank you for doing those days and helping us to get where we are now.
You're welcome. Thank you. It was my pleasure. Definitely my honor.
Well, I'm gonna let you go because you've just given us so much in this interview. I cannot wait until it airs. I cannot wait until my fans get to know you like I know you now.
Good.
We're friends now. We go way back.
Yeah, we go way back.
Right. My cousin and them. That's where we are right now, right?
My cousin and them, exactly.
No, but I thank you, Howard. I thank you. We look forward to seeing some more of you. We just look forward to continuing to hear your beautiful voice and your music and artistry. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you for your support through the years. Everybody's support through the years. Couldn't do it without you guys. You know, definitely.
All right. On
All
that,
right.
sir, I want you to be blessed. I want you to be encouraged, and I want you to be inspired. And I will just say, until we meet again.
Until we meet again, I'll see you on the FACC ... and life walks. You know what that's about, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to shout out when you see me on there doing my thing, because you got me motivated. I said, okay, all right, and I got to get the weight off, and I got to get my workout on and get my feet on. Okay, we're gonna do this.
And that was the whole thing about this, because when we did the shut-in thing, so many people, just because we were shut in didn't mean that we needed to be like couch potatoes and stuff like that. We needed to get out, because this virus thrives on low immune systems and vitamin D deficiencies and all that kind of stuff. So it's important for us to get out, and that's what the whole FACC is: fresh air, cardio, conversation, ... and life. So all that brings life, and all the conversation. That's one of the things that we're going to need from this point on. We've been in a communication and conversation kind of void for especially the last 4 years. Yeah. So now, we need to get out and see each other and understand each other a little bit better, because it's been such a divided thing. It's been divided for a while, but then we had an administration in there that thrived on that division and perpetuated that division even more. So we have to really, government's not going to be the ones to do that. We have to do that. So
yes, sir. Yeah. I'm with you, sir.
All right.
Motivated. I'm pumped, and I will see you on your next one.
I'll see you Monday.
See you Monday, sir.
All right.
So thank you so much. And I look forward to actually meeting you in person.
Definitely. I look forward to that too. God bless you and your family.
God bless you too, sir.
On the next episode of Shannon Ayers Speaks, we are excited to meet the beautiful Lynn Whitfield.